New evidence for playable Amani trolls. Guys, I talked about this quite a bit when we were going through the Amani troll quests, and I was looking at all the villagers and all the customization options they had, and I was like, really? Really? Because we got Harnier, we're not going to get these guys? They're so much cooler. The customizations on them, the different tusks, all this shit. I mean, there was so much to each of those models. I was sad. I thought playable Amani trolls would have been such a big hit with the community. Well, looks like there's new evidence out there that we could, in fact, still be getting playable Amani trolls. Let's see what Doran, the Teller of 1,000 Truths, has to say.
People have already written off the playable Amani, but they haven't followed the very recent news. Blizzard discussed this in an interview literally just 3 days back, being very mysterious about this happening soon. Furthermore, we know the Amani were literally built on an orc skeleton. They're able to equip player gear, which rarely happens on NPC races. And so far, when we discovered this on the Volpira and the Haranir, they ended up becoming playable just shortly.
That's true. That means less work for the devs if they do decide to push the button and make that race go live and playable. One of the hardest things for them to do is make gear equipable, because you got to retrofit all the old gear onto these to the new skeleton. So the fact that Amani trolls don't really have a new skeleton for the most part means that would be an easy race to activate and make playable.
After. Even more importantly, from a recent interview, a whole overhaul of the playable race customizations is happening soon, changing everything from the ground up, from new animations to everything being streamlined.
Hey, I'm a returning player and I found your YouTube channel. Thank you. I learned a lot from your videos. Thank you, K-Pain. I appreciate that, man. I'll Venmo you the money for that comment. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming in.
Always use
and there you go.
death
A gifted
knife.
sub for you too. Thanks, OnlyCap. I appreciate that, man. Enjoy the sub and the stream.
Which could be the perfect opportunity to finally add them. This will likely be a last title feature.
Paid actor.
12.1 is likely going to be an Amani patch coming out shortly before BlizzCon. So what is everything we're going to know, and are we realistically going to get playable Amani?
Looks like you were off to make some boars bigger. Or smaller?
So I recently started using
hell is
something
that?
really cool. A legit companion that is with you through the thick and thin in just about any game that you play.
Whoa, you are really hanging in there. Hope that rope is strong enough.
So, as I was just leveling this out, suddenly I was getting comments and grats every time I leveled up, like I was in a party with someone.
Oh my god, the oowification of WoW. What the fuck is this add-on? This is why add-ons shouldn't be allowed. Look at this shit. What the hell? Is this for real? There's like a uwu companion, an anime companion that congratulates you when you... My god. The world is going to crash and burn. We're in the end times.
Where to find the quest items, and it's called Hako AI. And it basically
This
watches
is
your
an
gameplay in
advertisement,
real
clearly.
time, jumps in when you're about to throw, which happens more often than I'd like to admit. Actually super cool, as the more you play, the more Hako
What the
adapts to you,
heck?
which is a little bit scary, but eventually you start synergizing. You can mess around with different personalities too, which is the funniest part, as some of them roast you, the other try to be all professional and
I'm
coach
shook
you.
right now.
It's like your own party member with you across so many different games. So playable Amani is one of the biggest letdowns so far of the midnight announcement. I don't know about you, but I was super hyped up about the Amani being playable immediately when I saw them on the announcement trailer.
Yeah,
and
same.
it turns out the playable race was the Haranir, and most people thought this is the end of it. I mean, we already got a playable
Yeah.
race. It's unlikely that we're going to get two in the Steam expansion. However, I've talked about this when it happened half a year back.
I mean, technically, we got Coltirans and Zandalari Troll. I mean, having two new playable races in a single expansion, did it used to be a big deal. Freaking the second expansion that was the first expansion that was ever made, Burning Crusade, gave us two very unique new races. We got the Draenei and the Blood Elves. So, like, two races in a single game is not unheard of, or in a single expansion is not unheard of. It just has become a thing where, like, now every single race added to the game is, it's both, right? Both, what's it called? Factions get it. So they always just do one now.
And I want to mention it again combined with new evidence, as Blizzard just discussed this question literally 3 days back in a French interview. This is also combined with an interview from a few weeks back on a massive playable race overhaul that will be happening very soon as well. So the Amani are actually one of the requested races, kind of similar to the Ogres, maybe not on the same level of popularity, but the community has consistently been asking about the forest trolls for at least 15 years by this point. This came from two things. One is that a relatively small forest troll tribe.
I would say ogres, Amani trolls, ethereals, Vrykul, like those are some of the most requested we got to make this race play. Maybe Naga, although Naga have always been like a trip because they got the snake tails and shit. I don't know how that would ever work unless they have like a visage form or something. Those have always been like some of the most highly requested. I want to play this race. I guess you could throw Tuskar in there too. Murlocs, no. High elves are already playable. You can make a fucking high elf in the game. But what I was going to say is those have been some of the most requested ones. You know what players never requested? Drakthir, Horanir, Volpera. Like, what? I don't know what Blizzard decides to just make. They're like, no, we don't want to give the players what they want. We're going to do something else. And so I don't understand why. Actually, I do understand it. It's the Vrykul, I should say, the Drakthir and the Volpera are sexual fetishes. That's what it is. It's for the furries and the scalies. So there was reasons behind that. But overall, what I'm trying to get at is Blizzard has these like automatic wins. Like easy W's. The player base would go nuts if they gave people ogres or they gave people Amani trolls or ethereals, but they've just refused to do it. I don't know why. They've held back on us. They're just teasing us. Maybe finally they'll give us Amani trolls. I'm hoping.
To the Amani has actually joined the Horde ages ago, and forest trolls have been a part of the Horde for quite a while now. Unbeknownst to some, ogres are actually a part of the Horde as well. They joined during the Rexor campaign, but the playable part never came through. The other factor is that the forest trolls are actually about...
People definitely wanted Volpera. Yeah, for 5 minutes. Like they showed up in the game randomly, and then people wanted them when they... But like some of these other races have been around since... ogres have been requested since fucking Classic, since the game launched. Like some of these other ones have been generational requests. Well, the Volpera, they wanted them for 5 minutes, and you know, Blizzard was like, oh yeah, another furry race? You got it. Here it is. Thanks for asking.
As old as the orcs, dating to the pre-Warcraft 3 era. I mean, the forest trolls have been in the game since the 90s. They're up there with the OG races like the orcs, humans, and elves. And in Warcraft 3, they had a unique model as well. Despite the Darkspear trolls being a core race, the forest trolls have always been iconic and have always been heavily requested because they looked so different from the trolls. Back in like Cataclysm, we got a whole bunch of new unique models for the Drakari and the Amani and all the different troll variations. But since then, a lot has changed. The original troll race, kind of the main troll race, and the Lari have already joined the Horde. So currently, we got 2 separate troll races, and you may be thinking like, why would they add another one? But I'll get to that in a bit. So without me blabbering...
The Zandalari have been requested for a while, and I actually think the Zandalari are the coolest race we've had in a while. Even though I don't play them, and I don't play Horde, I think the Zandalari were a really cool ad. That was probably the last cool one we've gotten.
Into the void, let's talk about some of the evidence that we have and the whole reason that I'm making this video. So the most important thing to talk about, and something people have noticed since Midnight was announced, is that the Amani are actually built on an orc skeleton, and this is like the #1 hint. This is kind of a really big deal for Blizzard and their production, and I'd say this is the main reason why we still haven't gotten the ogres or the Naga or any other race that really sticks out and is quite different from what we have. In fact, the Haranir themselves were built on a Night Elven rig too, so technically, even a race like the Haranir are really just a glorified race skin. They're not a completely new race. The fact that they can build a new race on an existing rig makes the job like a million times easier for Blizzard, as all they really do is kind of just work on the customizations. Now,
well, that's why I thought we were going to get the skinny humans, right? Remember the skinny humans when we got Battle for Azeroth and the Kultirans showed up and everything? I thought we were going to get skinny human customizations because the skinny human is just a undead skeleton. That's all it is. It's an undead skeleton with skin on it. So that's an easy one for them to add, but then they never did it.
The other thing, potentially even bigger hint that playable Amani will happen likely, is the fact that they can actually equip player armor. A lot of people completely overlook this. This is realistically the #1 hint, and we figured this out months ago. The new Amani model is able to equip player gear. Now, why this is relevant is because not a lot of NPC races can actually wear player gear, and this is the exact thought process of how we figured out the playable Volpera and the playable Haranir. We data mined these 2 races like mid-development with heavy customizations. The Volpera built on a Goblin rig, the Haranir built on a Night Elven rig. Both had a lot of customizations. They were able to equip gear. I don't know if you remember the start of the war within, but I've made multiple videos that playable Haranir will happen, and now they are happening, just in expansion later. So far, Amani are actually following 2 exact same big steps. Orc rig with being able to equip player gear. Now, the counterpoint to this, and why most people think this is a lost cause, is because we got the Harnir right now, so there is no way they're going to get another race in Midnight, but honestly, I think both were actually planned. It's just that the schedule for this expansion, like the World Soul Saga, just got completely crazy. At this point, it is 100% certain that the Harnir, Harandar, that entire storyline is just scrapped or like half-scrapped content moved from the War Within into Midnight. Even now, with Midnight out, it's such a weird transition. I mean, the entire Harnir storyline just kinda seems shoehorned in, and it seems shoehorned in because it was shoehorned in. And if you think this is my impression, Blizzard actually confirmed this in an interview. They had to move them from the War Within. But if you want even more evidence, it's the fact that people have noticed some loose ends in the main campaign. Like some dialogue is literally referring to War Within stuff. It's unrelated to Midnight.
Yeah.
So it's very obvious that they just transplanted.
Even the War Within intro theme song, Taliesin pointed it out that theme song is in this zone. It's there in parts of the zone. You can hear it playing. So, I mean, this was definitely a War Within zone.
This massive chunk of the War Within into Midnight without ever clearing up some loose ends. The Amani, seeing how literally they're half of the main campaign right at the gate, and like the main campaign is based on them, and clearly they're a big deal. They're not just a side quest in Midnight. I've talked about this a few videos back, but we have the giant Isle data mine off the coast of Zulaman, and seeing that it's not happening in 12.0.5 as we can see, it's clearly going to be a major patch stuff, and it's likely that 12.1 is going to be about the Amani. We got the whole mysterious Loa, hidden Isle off the coast with potential fell magic involvement, maybe even some hidden return of the Burning Legion. So the Amani storyline is yet to start, despite them being very relevant even right now, just right out the gate. Furthermore, it's all
Frazy Papa Chat says there's a side quest in Zulaman that unlocks the Amani customization for Darkspear right now. Yeah, I understand that. I know that's there. But it's not enough. I mean, to have the Amani paint styles and hairstyles, which is what you basically get for doing that quest line, it's just not enough. It's not enough. You want the big, bulky body. That's the whole point of the Amani trolls. That's not the paint that makes them cool. It's the freaking muscle, the big buff boys.
Obvious that the big setup for this expansion is the reunion of elves and reconciliation of the Amani and elves who had been at war for thousands of years. So they are setting these people up definitely. However, to not just ramble here and get into what ifs, let's discuss even more evidence in the most recent one as well. So did you see the interview from 3 weeks back when Blizzard talked about just how they did player housing, they did a big revamp to transmogs? They plan to do a massive project of completely revamping the character customizations of all the playable races from the ground up. They weren't talking about adding a few more customizations. The big part of the interview was how with the new Harnir customizations, there is a huge discrepancy between some of the older core race customizations and newer ones, and some races just currently are way more sophisticated when it comes to the customization. So what they're planning to do here is actually like this one big feature potentially in the Last Titan. They specifically stated that they don't want to do like mini patches or mini updates where they add 1 to 2 new race customizations, but this is going to come out as like a whole thing. So this big project is going to streamline everything, and that is where the Amani are going to get bunched in. Think about it. Potentially they might remove a specific race as they are today and do it as like one thing. So for example, you can pick a troll, but you can either be like a Darkspear, Amani, or Zandalari, or you can pick an orc and you can be a regular orc, or you can be a Magar. This could be the mechanism where the Amani get added, and as I stated, technically the Amani are just a little bit of a
I mean, honestly, the character customizations tree is getting a little bit wild with all the allied races. There's a lot of choices now for races. Maybe that would be a good way for them to do it, is like sub-categorize a lot of these races now. Like, you pick a human, you could be a Kultiran, you can be a regular Stormwind human. You pick an orc, you could be a Magar orc. If they wanted to add in, like, the Ogre orc, like somebody mentioned in chat, like Rexar, you could put that under there, too. So they start, adding these separate customizations under these subcategories of races, because a lot of these are sub-races now. Like, even for elves, my God, you put elves in a caddy. This is for 50 different elves you can make now. That might be where they go soon, because yeah, right now, I mean, you pick a lot. There's like all these circles, tons of options to pick for races.
Find reskin. I mean, they already built them. They're based on orc rigs, so it's not exactly a big deal for Blizzard to add them and make them playable. So this new system could be exactly what is going to facilitate this integration. Now, another, and I'd say main bit of evidence, and this is actually from 11th of March, in a French interview where Blizzard devs were asked a whole bunch of questions. In particular, they were asked about when are we going to get the playable Amani as a new race, and they just outright stated like, we can't cover that, we don't want to spoil anything, and they said this exactly. exactly. Enthusiasm from our players for the races they'd like to see is helpful in our decision making. Honestly, this type of reaction makes it pretty clear that they are in fact planning something.
They didn't say no.
And they're probably saving this for the last Titan announcement as the end of midnight thing. Like, we're in a bit of a strange situation right now where the last Titan is going to be announced pretty much just a few months post 12.1, maybe even a month after 12.1. So essentially in the middle of midnight, and if 12.1 is the Amani, then they are going to be super relevant to what they will announce on BlizzCon. Like huge character customization overhaul and playable Amani.
That's true.
Potentially
12.1 does look like it's going to be a big Amani troll patch, so maybe that's when we get them.
Even more similar reskin type races could be added to this. Most importantly, as stated, the Halanir definitely weren't supposed to be a midnight feature, and it's likely the Amani were planned originally, but they shifted things around, postponing the Amani as well. However, based on multiple hints, playable Amani do actually seem very likely. So if you want a smarter teammate that actually grows with you as you play, make sure to check out Hacko AI with my link in the description.
Yeah, download the UWU,
30
girl.
tabards. Show off.
Jeez.
Thanks for watching. Check out how the Scourge is literally attacking us again in midnight by clicking on the screen, and subscribe to my brand new Witcher lore channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, nice video overall from Doran. Yeah, it's interesting they answered that question that way. They didn't say no. And if you don't say no to the WoW player base, that means it's possible for sure. So Amani Troll's still a chance they could be playable. I think that would be a nice win from Blizzard. Just do it. Give us playable Amani Trolls. I think it'd be I think a lot of people would want to be them. A nice video overall from Doran.